Halito. Halito. What up, beautiful ones? How y'all doing today? How's everybody doing today? I'm gonna let it fill up and I'm gonna get into something. I'm gonna get into it today. And I just want to clear some things up for people, particularly these Pan Africans and these Native Americans. They're having a really hard time with this. So I'm just gonna make sure that there's no misunderstanding. Hey, beloveds, how you beautiful ones doing today? Everything's healthy. Everything's healthy, David. So let's clear this up. I'm also want to let y'all know I'm gonna get a channel together specifically for the children. I cuss like a sailor, but I'm not speaking to the kids right now. I'm speaking to the adults. It's always going to be your job to speak to your children, okay? I'm always going to do what I can, but it starts at home. Okay, David, I got you. So yeah, I'm going to start a channel for the kids. I'm trying to get my youngest to lend some of her time because she's very good with languages. She speaks 5 or 6 different languages, and she actually helps me with the Chata Anumpa, which is the Choctaw language. So I'm going to try and incorporate my youngest in order to get something going for the children. Hi, you beautiful ones, so they can connect with some of these words. And yeah, so that's going to be that. But I'm definitely going to be working on that. So we currently trying to get that developed. So I'm going to get into it. And let me just make this disclaimer right now because these I'm trying to be I'm trying to take it out. Because these people, they like to flag and they like to block people. So I'm going to, not only am I going to quote my sources, but I also am going to make a small disclaimer that I don't own any property. I'm going to name the channels that I got it from, and as best as I can, uh, voice who the copyrights actually belong to, because some hating ass motherfuckers out there, and they don't want this to happen. Okay, so let me just get right into it. We're gonna break this Civil Rights Act down so you can easily identify who I'm talking about. I did a video, why are Native Americans so angry? And I'm telling you, that video was done in October, and the Native Americans are still angry. Okay, they won't say who their anger is with, and they're getting on there. And I don't mind people voicing their opinion, even if it's unfavorable to me. I'm very fair. I could take it. If I dish it out, I better be able to take it. So when they leave their little funny comments and stuff, it doesn't really affect me the way they think it's going to affect me. But it also does showcase how prejudiced they are. I don't mind people being racist, but because racist is based on your stock. I protect my family. I protect my relatives. That's being racist, okay? Everybody should be racist. You should protect your own folks. Everybody else does it, okay? This is natural law. That's not something that anybody should be embarrassed about or, even use the word loosely when you call somebody a racist. There's nothing wrong with people loving their own folks. There's nothing wrong with that. Prejudice and bias is the problem that we're experiencing from these people. It's not racism. They're in a race, and some of us is fucking still tying our sneakers. You can't be mad at people for excelling and representing their team to the best of their ability. Let's get that understood. So that's the difference between racism and prejudice, right? So now I'm just going to get right into it. And I got this from a YouTube page, and it's on Ellen Salmonson's page. I'm going to flip the camera because I want y'all to hear this. Now, this is only 2 minutes and 19 seconds, but this is very important. And this is going to be the rundown of what led up to Lyndon B. Johnson calling in a special favor to Congress, okay, after the death of Martin Luther King. And this special favor was to pass this goddamn law that gave us what we were supposed to have. See, but they were very, very cunning, very conniving. And also within that, what they also did was get you to call yourself something other than what you were. Okay. So let's get into it. And this is called 1960s Race Riots in America. Check this out. Let me get this together for y'all. Now watch this.
The Watts Riots, 1965. Los Angeles was a powder keg for many years, and on the 21st of August, Marquette Fry, black, was pulled over for drunk driving. He, his brother, and their mother finally began fighting the two white officers who arrested them. The police had to dispel crowds throwing bottles and rocks. 6 days later, central LA was a burning war zone. 30,000 blacks rioted, looted, set fires, and beat whites at random. 34 were killed, 268 buildings razed, and $40 million done in damages. Number 4. Nationwide rioting after Martin Luther King Jr.'s death in 1968. King was assassinated on the 4th of April in Memphis, and rioting began that evening in cities around the nation, 110 in all by the end. Washington, D.C. was the worst hit, with looting, brawls, and widespread arson for 5 days. 12 people were killed, over 6,000 arrested, 1,200 buildings razed, and 13,600 military troops forced to guard the city, the largest military occupation of any American city since the Civil War. Number 3.
The 1967 Detroit riot. In late July 1967, 82 Detroit residents were celebrating the return of friends who had served in Vietnam at an unlicensed establishment. When police raided the building in the early hours of the morning, the crowd turned on them. The police initially fled, and the party-going group evolved into a mob which began looting nearby buildings and burning cars. Out of control, the National Guard and even the 82nd Airborne Division were called in to help and often became engaged in shootouts with rioters. After 5 days, the estimated 10,000 rioters had been dispersed, with 43 people killed, over 7,000 arrested, and 3,000 buildings looted or burned. 1968 Holy Week Uprising. After the April 4th assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King, communities across the United States rose up in protest. In some cities like Washington, D.C., Baltimore, and Chicago, large-scale riots broke out as bands numbering in the thousands vented their anger and frustration. Federal soldiers were called in to back up the local police forces, and despite the scale of the riots, deaths were kept at a few dozen, which was relatively low when compared to the other riots in the 1960s America. The damage was extensive, however. Over several days of protests and riots, thousands of businesses and homes were looted and burned down, with thousands of people injured.
Okay. Okay. So you see that? So now you know who was rioting, right? And you know who was not rioting. Okay? Now, I just want to show you something else. And this is back in, you guys need to check this channel out. It's called Hezekiah News. And he's on YouTube. Hezekiah News and Music. This brother's got some serious throwbacks. He's got a lot of things from the CBS vault. A lot of things from the vaults of NBC. Footage, documentaries, all sorts of things relative to our people from the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and even the early 80s. And he is like creatively documenting so much of our history. Okay. And he doesn't comment. He doesn't say much or anything. But the material that he's selecting to put on his page, it definitely is going to help you stay in the time. Okay. Because you have to be able to not just compile everything into one big thing that happened to so-called black people. You have to be able to compartmentalize things and place them appropriately for whatever situation or oppressive corner we've been backed into. Everything is not all relative to the same thing. So you got to be able to understand how he's placing placing us in the time zone that we weren't there for. I certainly wasn't born in the 50s or 60s or anything, but this is what you can use to start sparking nostalgia amongst the elders so you can get more information out of them. Okay, so just check this out. But this here, and this little clip basically documents Africans telling you how they feel when they get called Negro, or when they get called, confused with us. Yeah, and again, the Korean man is always going to be about his paper. But just check this little clip out. And this is from Hezekiah News. And this is just a little clip. It's called Rare Black News Reports. And this African is the same civil rights era in the late 50s and the 1960s. And he's basically like how I feel when they call me a Negro. Check this shit out.
Have you encountered any social barriers anywhere?
Well, I think before I answer your question, I should like to get this point straight, that I don't quite like that name, Negro.
What would you prefer to be called?
Well, I would prefer to be called either as an African or the black man. I feel the Negro is a name that has a bad connotation. And in the second place, I never had anyone refer to me as a Negro.
You mean in your own country?
No. And I just feel strange, as if I had worn somebody else's name.
As if he wore somebody else's name. They never call him Negro in Africa.
I should say that on the whole, Americans are very race conscious. And as a black man, I've met some people who have had treated me with contempt.
Any difference?
Okay, y'all, here they go. They cutting me off again. Let's start it over. I'm going to start the clip over.
Are an African or black man instead of an American Negro?
Well, I think there is no question about that.
What do you think
Let me
of
find it.
This
Hold
country
on.
in general terms, since you have been here?
What I don't like, this is something I don't think people here can help it, like the...
All right, let me bring it back because they cutting, you know, they start cutting your YouTube and dropping your line and stuff like that. No, honey, no, David. They do this all the time. I think my own phone is taking pictures of me and shit. The shit is flashing green on my end. I don't know if you guys see it. Okay, I'm bringing it back.
Before I answer your question, I should like to get this point straight, that I don't quite like that name, Negro.
What would you prefer to be called?
Well, I would prefer to be called either as an African or the black man. I feel the Negro is a name that has a bad connotation. And in the second place, I never had anyone refer to me as a Negro.
You mean in your own country?
No. And I just feel strange, as if I had worn somebody else's name.
Well,
I should say that on the whole, Americans are very race conscious. And as a black man, I've met some people who have had treated me with contempt, or they have discriminated against me. But as soon as they realized I wasn't a native here, their attitude has had such a sudden change that it's remarkable.
did you notice any difference in attitude among the people here when they find out that you are an African or black man instead of an American Negro?
Well, I think there is no question about that.
What do you think of
Did you see that?
in general terms, since you have
He said when they found out that I was not a native, they lost their contempt. And look at this greedy ass Korean. Look. They the same.
Rude treatment that the customers
Greedy.
get here when they buy things. You see, and this is very unusual for us Asian, because we have great regard for money, and we work quite hard for our money, and we spend money. We expect to get
They like that
courteous
paper.
treatment. But here you spend your money, and sometimes you get insulted. And this is not only my case. This is true
Hey,
even for
Lacey.
Americans. So I don't take this as a personal or racial insult, but this is something that exists here, and I dislike, but I know that nobody could help it.
Okay.
There was nobody to be seen anywhere. Well,
So, did you see? And then the interviewer tells the African guy, so basically in Africa, they don't call you Negro. He like, no, I'm an African or a black man. That's where that title belongs, across the ocean. Okay? He said that the contempt for him changes once they realize he's not a native. So when they realize he's not American, they treat the motherfucker nice. All right. So now, this is Lyndon B. Johnson. This is a clip, and this is from MC American President. This is from that channel, and this is called Lyndon Johnson addresses after his address after ordering the troops to Michigan when they were wilding in Detroit. Okay, just check this out so you get a background. So now you know there was millions of dollars of destruction, and our people just were not having it. From the Watts riots to Baltimore, this is, our people get really explosive. And you know how Tupac said, we burn this bitch down when it get us pissed. Clearly that was a fact because they tore this shit up. And all of this is going to lead up to what are our federally protected activities. See, everybody's so worried about these Native Americans and their federally regulated activities, okay? The American Indian has federally protected activities, okay? So I need y'all to make that distinction. Now, check this clip out. It's only 4 minutes.
In the early morning today, Governor Romney communicated with Attorney General Ramsey Clark and told him of the extreme disorder in Detroit, Michigan. The Attorney General kept me advised throughout the morning. At 10:56 this morning, I received a wire from Governor Romney officially requesting that federal troops be dispatched to Michigan. This wire had been sent at 10:46 a.m. At 11:02 a.m. this morning, I instructed the Secretary of Defense, Mr. McNamara, to initiate the movement of the troops which the governor had requested. At the same time, I advised the governor by telegram that the troops would be sent to Selfridge Air Base just northeast of Detroit and would be available to support and to assist the some 8,000 Michigan National Guardsmen and the several thousand state and local police under the command of Governor Romney and the mayor of Detroit. I informed the governor that these troops would arrive this afternoon. I also informed the governor
to Detroit, you see?
that immediately Mr. Cyrus Vance, as special assistant to the Secretary of Defense and others, would proceed to Detroit for conferences with the governor and other appropriate officials. This plan proceeded precisely as scheduled. Approximately 5,000 federal troops were on their way by airlift to Detroit, Michigan within a few hours. Mr. Vance, General Throckmorton, and others were in Detroit and in conference with Governor Romney by the middle of this afternoon. Their initial report was that it then appeared that the situation might be controlled without bringing the federal troops from the Selfridge Air Force Base into downtown Detroit. They therefore recommended to the President that the troops be maintained on a 30-minute alert, and they advised that they would be in continual touch with the situation and with Secretary McNamara and me making periodic reports about every 30 minutes. At approximately 10:30 this evening, Mr. Vance and General Throckmorton reported to me by telephone that it was the then unanimous opinion of all of the state and federal officials who were in consultation, including Governor Romney, Mr. Vance, General Throckmorton, the mayor, and others, that the situation had developed in such a way in the few intervening hours as to make the use of federal troops to augment the police and Michigan National Guard imperative. They described the situation in considerable detail, including the violence and deaths that had occurred in the past few hours, and submitted as their unanimous judgment of all concerned that the situation was totally beyond the control of the local authorities. On the basis of this confirmation of the need
for federal participation by federal troops, and pursuant to the official request made by the governor of the state of Michigan,
Hey,
in
beloveds.
which Mayor Kavanaugh of Detroit joined, I forthwith issued the necessary proclamation and executive order as provided by the Constitution and the statutes. I advise Mr. Vance and General Throckmorton to proceed immediately with the transportation of federal troops from Selfridge Air Force Base to places of deployment within Detroit, a movement which they had already provisionally begun pursuant to their authority. I'm
Okay. So, now I just wanted you guys to have an understanding of the magnitude of destruction from the beginning of the 60s up until they passed the Civil Rights Act. Okay? When Martin Luther King got killed, they thought all hell was going to break loose. They already started wilding when they killed the 15-year-old in Los Angeles. So these riots were happening at different intervals and different time frames, but the magnitude, they'll never forget it. Now I'm going to go to the Civil Rights Act. And this is and I want to let me just stop right there, because in constitutional law, what they have is called single subject rules. Okay, so there's about 40 states that have single subject rules out of the entire United States. The single subject rule means that they have to, when they write a law or they enact a law or a bill, it can only present one subject. Okay, so they can't mix what is against the law to do to goats, and then they mix in chickens. Unless they say it's against the law to do this to animals, then it's just going to be all of the animals. It's not going to be anything specific. But if you're looking for something that is particularly about goats, then they have to stick to whatever the law is, and they have to make it about goats and nothing else. Okay? So as not to confuse the people, because a lot of times people don't even know what they're voting for. Or what they're electing to have. And that happened to our people a lot. So there's also going to be states that have, unless it's like an omnibus bill. Now, omnibus bill is where they can mix a bunch of unrelated subject matter to pass a law. Oh, really, y'all? Wow. Well, I hope y'all can hear me now. Hopefully that shit don't last long. They'll be all right. Okay, so now about the omnibus laws, they can't be scattered or just random topics. That's the only instance where it can be scattered or random topics. So I want y'all to look up the single subject rule. I have it pulled up here on Ballotpedia. Check it out so you can have an understanding of what I mean about the single subject rule. There's going to be states that if they're talking about Indians, the law is about Indians. It ain't got nothing to do with nobody else outside of, American Indians. Okay. So there's also states that have what's called initiative and referendum. And I'm probably going to save that for another show, but I just want y'all to get familiar with some of these terms. And initiative, really, it allows citizens to propose or initiate statutes, constitutional amendments, and measures and other proponents. This is where you get your propositions from. Like in California, where they legalized weed, it was a proposition. Okay, and that was obtained through people making their votes clear on that specific topic, that specific subject matter of them wanting to be able to smoke marijuana and purchase marijuana for medical purposes. And now, in which case it's completely recreational. So if you got an ID, you can walk up in the store and go get your little green nuggets. Okay, so look, the Civil Rights Act. I need y'all to put in, I'm going to show y'all what I'm doing. So I'm going to drop the link. Now it's hard, and they make this very hard. And for some reason, I was unable to just grab it off the National Archives. I know I have it saved on one of my, a couple of my drives somewhere. the actual original, but I just find it awkward. It's not really that searchable since Battlefield and I have been talking about it. And we've been talking about it for a little over a year now. And there's a lot of stuff that they're trying to take down and move and scramble. And they'll even mislabel shit just so you can't find it. So, yeah, Public Law 90284. I just want to show y'all where I got it from. So, I'll drop the link in the tab. Let's see. All right, I'm going to turn this around. Okay, so they like to disguise it as the Fair Housing Act, but again, I told you the subject matter is not going to change. Okay, so you go to the government print office. All right, now if I open this, the PDF is going to come up, and that's perfectly fine. But the government print office gives you the complete layout of the statute. Okay, so when you see it, it's going to be HTTPS, I'm going to drop this link in there for you guys. Let me just copy it right now. And it's going to bring you straight to the PDF. Okay. Let's see. I have it pulled up here, but I just want y'all to check this out. Now, this is the difference. I'm doing well, Jake Jukuda. I'm doing well, beloved. Peace to everybody. Peace and love. Okay, so this is Public Law 90284, April 11th, 1968. Okay. Exemption granted under this section shall remain in effect after 3 years after the date such exemption is originally granted, approved April 10th, 1968. Okay, now this is an act to prescribe penalties for certain acts of violence or intimidation and for other purposes. Now, I need y'all to understand who was having the violence perpetrated against them. Was it the Native Americans that you know of? Was it those people, those of Mongolian descent? Were they in the South? Were they in the East? Now you need to let me know because I don't recall seeing them there. Okay, so Title I, interference with federally protected activities. Remember when they went down on Selma to peacefully protest and they got bust upside their head? Bottle topped, water hosed, bit by dogs? It was their right to assemble peacefully. And that is what they were demonstrating. Okay? And those demonstrations were always interrupted. And sometimes they ended up in death for our people. Sometimes they ended up in death. Okay? Okay, so now you got federally protected activities. Let me just try and make this a little bigger and see if y'all can read that. Okay? Federally protected activities. Nothing in this section shall be construed as indicating an intent on the part of Congress to prevent any state, any possession or commonwealth of the United States or the District of Columbia from exercising jurisdiction over any offense over which it would have jurisdiction in the absence of this section. Nor shall anything in this section be construed as depriving state and local law enforcement authorities of responsibility for prosecuting acts that may be violations of this section and that are violations of state and local law. No prosecution of any offense described in this section shall be undertaken by the United States except upon the certification in writing of the Attorney General or the Deputy Attorney General that is in his judgment a prosecution by United States is in the public interest and necessary to secure substantial justice with function of certification may not be delegated. Nothing in this subsection shall be construed to limit the authority of federal officers or federal grand jury to investigate possible violations of this section. Whoever, whether or not acting under color of law, by force or threat of force willfully injures, intimidates, or interferes with, or attempts to injure, intimidate, or interfere with any person because he is or has been or in order to intimidate such person or any other person or class of persons from A, voting or qualifying to vote, qualifying or campaigning as a candidate for elective office, or qualifying or acting as a poll watcher, or any legally authorized election official in any primary, special, or general election. Participating in or enjoying any benefit, service, privilege, program, facility, or activity provided or administered by the United States. Applying for or enjoying employment or any perquisite thereof by any agency of the United States. Serving or attending upon any court in connection with possible service as a grand or petty juror in any court of the United States. Now remember, I see what you're saying, and I kind of caught the end of it. In the Oxford Dictionary, in the U.S. use of the word nigger, it means American Indian. Okay? I don't know what y'all fussing about there, but let's keep this under control. We trying to build, not destroy. So, I got to make a couple more of y'all moderators so y'all can boot those dudes out when they start interrupting what we got going on here. We don't pay them no mind. They here to hate and troll. Let them go ahead. They can watch our smoke. They can watch our smoke and catch this fade. Okay, so E. Participating in or enjoying the benefits of any program or activity receiving federal financial assistance, or any person because of his race, color, religion, or national origin, and because he is or has been A. Enrolling in or attending any public school or private college, participating in or enjoying any benefit, service, privilege, program, facility, or activity provided or administered by any state or subdivision of. Applying for or enjoying employment or any prerequisite thereof by any private employer or agency of any state or subdivision thereof, or joining or using the services or advantages of any labor organization, hiring hall, or employment agency. So you get the gist of it, because basically what's happening now, they're breaking down all of the things, the violations and the complaints. And who lodged all of these complaints but our people? You tell me when these Native Americans had a problem getting a hamburger in Woolworth. Okay? You let me know when they had any of these issues finding housing when they lived on reservations. Come on, use your mind, right? And I need those Native Americans that's so angry on that other post, I need you guys to talk to your elders, okay? Because clearly you guys have been lied to also. It's not your fault. Your ignorance is not your fault. It's a choice now, but I'm certain the same way they lied to us, they lied to you as well, clearly. Okay, so now this is going to be where the meat and potatoes come in. Okay. Okay. Let's see. As used in this section, the term participating lawfully in speech or peaceful assembly shall not mean aiding, abetting, or inciting of other persons to riot or to commit any act of physical violence upon any individual or against any real or personal property in furtherance of a riot. Nothing in subparagraph 2, F or 4A of this subsection shall apply to the proprietor of any establishment which provides lodging to transient guests or to any employee acting on behalf of such proprietor with respect to enjoyment of the goods, services, facilities, privileges, advantages, or accommodations of such establishment if such establishment is located within a building which contains not more than 5 rooms for rent or hire and which is actually occupied by the proprietor as his residence. Okay, so basically it's giving you all of the things, the discriminatory acts that were committed against the American Aborigine. Okay, now let's get down here to chapter 102, because if you look at this law on any website that has anything to do, for instance, Oklahoma University, those Indian nations, the corporate Indian nations, this will not be there. You will not find this there. And the reason why you won't find that there, because it doesn't identify them. Okay? This identifies us. You tell me when somebody's Native American uncle, Geronimo, Sitting Bull, when they came and burnt up some shit in Baltimore. When they tore something up in D.C. Chapter 102 riots. Whoever travels in interstate or foreign commerce or uses any facility of interstate or foreign commerce, including but not limited to the mail, telegraph, telephone, radio, or television, with intent to incite a riot, to organize, promote, encourage, participate, or carry on a riot. Y'all can read this on your own. I just needed y'all to see this. And then guess what Section 2? Title 2, Bam! Title 2, the rights of Indians. Does that shit say the rights of Native Americans? Right. The shit don't say that. Now, at the time, we were still living in our communities, and we still have relations as tribes. Were we corporate tribes? Absolutely not. But while they were going to the patent office, we were getting trained to call ourselves black and be proud of it. That's some shit. And you have your habeas corpus, okay? And this is a model code governing courts of Indian offenses, all right? Now I'm going to stop there and I'm going to flip the camera. And the reason why they did this is because they were under the impression that we were going to establish our governments, right? We don't have to be in their courtrooms because we were supposed to start our own tribunals. This is what happened. How the ball got dropped after King died, I don't really know. I wasn't there yet. So that's Title 2. Title 3 is the model of code governing courts of Indian offenses. Now, if you look in your states, we're not federally regulated. We're not attached to any of those tribes. What does that mean for us? So now we are becoming displaced again after we get this landmark decision that is supposed to change our condition. It did not take long after Martin Luther King was murdered for everybody to regress and start calling themselves black. And start calling themselves all of these other things that take you out of the fold of this new law that's not even 50 years old. It'll be 50 years old. April 11th, the Civil Rights Act will be 50 years old. So, y'all with the single subject matter, I need y'all to look that up. Single subject rule. Look it up in your state. Because when they're speaking about one thing or you want a law passed, they're not going to mix a whole bunch of stuff together. Okay? It's going to be one thing. This is the Civil Rights Act is about American Indians. Okay? It is not about Native Americans. Now, I did find a recent amendment. And let me pull that up. I did find an amendment to the Civil Rights Act. And in that amendment, let me see, I believe they say that you can insert Native. You can insert it. But no, you want to stick to the script. You want to stick to 1968. So, again, to the Native Americans, this is no disrespect to y'all. This is no harm to y'all, right? We've been injured. We can't do anything about what y'all experienced on y'all reservations, okay? And we're not going to sit here and swap whose blues or are darker than mine. Like, that's not what we're going to sit here and exchange unpleasantries regarding what happened with y'all in the reservations versus what happened to us in these communities and in the projects. Y'all have reservations. We have projects, okay? So what y'all going through is not the same as what we're going through. I'm not going to deny that y'all going through something, but y'all been sticking to y'all Native American affairs. Stay out of Aborigine affairs. Stay out of the American Indian affairs. Stay out of the American Negro affairs. Has nothing to do with y'all. Y'all got y'all check. Y'all got y'all shit lined up. Y'all situated over there. Going to sit down over there and enjoy what you got. Big up to you. We got rights. We have claims. We have sustained injuries. We have a voice. We got some things we want to talk to Congress about. We got some things we want to sit down and talk to these people about. You're not going to erase us any more than they tried to. I need y'all to understand that. It doesn't matter how upset you Native Americans get. We're not going to change our mind. You're not going to Africanize us. If you want to, be funny, y'all better embrace that Asian persuasion. Y'all got a lot of Mongolian stuff going on. I don't want to, promote any separatism as far as who's responsible for what goes on in this country. Okay? Because everybody here is responsible for themselves. And if they are unable to be responsible for themselves, then they need to take their ass back home. They need to take their asses back home. Again, y'all gonna have to figure out how to stay out of Aborigine affairs. If y'all not looking to help, stay out of our affairs. This don't have nothing to do with y'all. If you are looking to help, your genuine concern and your truth is absolutely going to be, helpful. Because some of y'all know the truth, but you won't tell it because you don't want to see the Negro with nothing. You don't think that the Indian deserves nothing because we done fell asleep for a long time. And y'all think we can't get our shit back. I need y'all to know that's a lie. I need y'all to know that's not true. There are plenty of us that are setting ourselves up. The ancestors are grooming us to become the leaders of the new school, to become the leaders of the permanent class of the people in America that the world will never forget again, to become a permanent part of the class of people that America was built on, and that would be us. So, I don't know what to tell y'all, Native Americans. Please stop asking me to prove what I'm talking about like I just made this civil rights shit up. I did not write the Civil Rights Act. I wasn't even born. I didn't have any participation in any of those riots. But I'm going to tell you, neither did y'all Native Americans. Let's keep that shit real. These were our uncles. These was our grandfathers. These were our folks going through the water. These were our folks dealing with this nonsense. It wasn't your folks. Rising sun. Peace and love. Peace and love, beloveds. Y'all gonna stop acting like we not here. We never went anywhere. They stopped sending so-called Africans over here in 1808. You always will hear about something that got seized because there was a cracker to try it. They would try and still bring people over here. But that is not true. After 1808, they didn't bring no Africans to America. Whatever little bit of African might have been there was stamped out by the Indians. Understand that. It's gone. It's gone. It didn't last long. Then they sent y'all home. I'm going to do a show on the American Colonization Society. And I'm going to show you how they bought that land over there in West Africa. And then I got some really good stuff from out of the vault, out of one of these archives, that you have to hear how this maybe 7th, 8th generation Liberian man speaks. Okay? He has this southern accent. That is southern drawl that is mixed in with whatever African language they were speaking. When y'all hear this man talk, it's just like they just took somebody straight out of Alabama and sent them over there and they tried to learn how to speak African. It's really weird, really unique. I can't wait to do that. Probably had that for you this weekend. Shout out to everybody. I'm looking forward to doing part 2 with Darkman. With the Jamaican Constitution. We're going to get back to that. We're going to do a Haiti part 2. We're going to get to Antigua. We're just going to start island hopping. We're going to go down the line with all of these constitutions and we're going to look at laws and we're going to dig in some of these archives and start identifying these people because they hide under different names and they hide amongst us. You know, when they sent German slaves to to Jamaica, they called them Palatines. When you see Palatines in America, those are German slaves. See, they're no longer Germans because they lost their freedom. So their status is black because they did something. They came over here with chains around their neck because England, Scotland, Ireland, wherever they came from, already had a docket number for them. They already was invited to prison. Look, you can die here, you can hang right here, or you can go to America and you're going to get sold as a slave 14 years, whatever amount of time. It doesn't matter. It had to be fucked up. Why would them white people be running away? If you know you only got to do 4 years, what are you running around, running all over the place? And then they was running with the likes of people like so-called Chicken George and shit. You know what kind of trouble they would have got into? But for some reason, it was important for those indentured servants to run the fuck away. It's all about contracts. Shadow slavery. It's all about what you talk yourself into or what you sign your name to. And that's really it. That's really it. But y'all better know Public Law 90-284. The rights of Indians. That be you. Okay? That be you. Doesn't matter if we don't like the word. When you see what the labels are that by law in our public capacity. See, don't confuse the public with the private. You can be, I'm Tiaka Haley Ikotapa in private. Okay? In public, I'm Phoenix Moon. I'm other people. I'm we the people. In my private capacity. But when I need to do business, I'm Phoenix Moon. It's not hard. It's not hard. Public and private. Some things that you offer that are attached to society at large and the public interest. And then there are things that belong to me and I don't want the public to have parts of it. That becomes my private shit that can't be interfered with. And I enjoy those. That's the difference between freedom and liberty. Publicly, you may have liberties, permissions. Privately, you have freedoms. And the ability to do what it is that you want. Unrestricted, unmolested, in the pursuit of happiness. And these are your federally protected activities. Why would you trade federally protected activities for federally regulated activities? Where they tell you what to do. Federally protected activities means I can do what I want and I don't have to be stopped or harassed by some European cop, right? He doesn't have the right. He doesn't have a right. And he's only doing it based off of the fact that he thinks that I'm a runaway slave. He thinks that I'm black. They can do that. You can't do that to the Indian, though. Well, yeah, that's right, Aboriginal power. Once you put that state tag on it, you know. Listen, in these contracts, I don't care what they tell you. Even when you go down, and I'm not saying there's not going to be any reason to ever use DMV or even use any of these services. Just know how you're using them. You know, they're giving you a contract to sign. Start crossing some shit out. If you're uncertain of it, cross it out and put your initial by it. Don't let them tell you, oh, you can't do that. Yes, you can. Let somebody go in the back and find you someone to notarize a document proclaiming that you can't. Go get the commissioner. He's the one that took the oath. Because any of those people down at DMV that you talk to, they just going by what they've been shown to do and what's in their policy and procedures. And that shit ain't got nothing to do with the law. So this is where you'll always be able to get them. They're not following the law. It's not going to be hard for you to catch them slipping. And sometimes you better get your little 25, 35, 50,000 out of the headache. Start suing their boots off. Make them pay. They don't care what you do to them physically. You can curse them out. You can say whatever you want to say, but you take their money. And that's when they realize your ass ain't playing. That's when they want to respect you. And they owe you. And they injure you, they have to pay for that. That's it. Now we know how to address what our injuries are. See, before we just had this blanket ass story. And yo, you know what? And this is a whole nother subject. But Ta-Nehisi Coates, if y'all see that petition that they filed for reparations, that shit ain't got nothing to do with us. it was nice, great gesture and everything. I felt the passion and shit. But when you see the names that's on there, I know Congress is probably just like they probably used it for I don't know, to that's it's the paper that you shred up and just put it in the bottom of the bird cage and just let them have at it. Like that would be like, this is not worth nothing. You got to see the names on it. And it was just funny. It's just funny. I'm gonna get it and I'm gonna drop the link in the feed so you guys could take a look at this shit. But I found it hilarious. Claude Anderson, he had a really interesting way of putting it. But the man said the word black so many times in like the first 2 minutes, I couldn't even pay attention anymore. He just dragged us on a boat to Africa. The shit was crazy. And they know that shit's not true. So being that they told us this bullshit story and people just want to keep riding with it, we can't get anything because that's a lie. They told us a lie. We have to come at them with truth and facts. Right? Some of y'all don't even realize that y'all related to somebody that has one of these patents, right? That they hurried up and made the patent office so they can steal our stuff from before. Those patents are only good for 100 years. Maybe, how do you know your great-great-grandfather didn't create, some type of device or something that you don't even know he created? That money would belong to you if you're the last surviving descendant, but how the fuck would you know? How would you know if you don't look? You don't know who you are. It's time to take those patents back. They're no longer owned by the Pilgrim. It's time to take some of this intellectual property back. They don't appreciate it. They just love our music. They want to use us up. They love our athletic ability. They love all our talent. They love the way we cook. They love our innovative ways. They love how we talk. And we're able to make up different languages that only we understand, that only we can relate to. Why they keep having you look for some language that you don't even remember having? We didn't forget everything. Some of this shit is ours. We keep talking about English. Well, maybe this shit is ours because all these other people spoke some other shit until they came here. Maybe this is what we were speaking the whole time. Maybe we forgot the actual meaning to these words because they have manipulated that. But it doesn't mean that English belongs to them. Doesn't mean that. They like the Anglos. Well, who the hell are the Anglos? You might want to think they some pilgrims, but maybe they're not. Maybe that's a code name. Got us thinking like, why don't they give us our shit back? We got stuff that we've created that the whole world enjoys, but they don't want to come in our country and respect us. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. Y'all need to feel your value. We make the world go round. Some of y'all got up and went to work this morning and put in this magnitude of energy that's going to keep this bitch floating for another day. If y'all stop, the world stops. If we have all that power to do all of that, and perhaps we need to join forces and use our power to make it work for us, not against us. They're using us as an example. And then they drain us and try to suck the life out of us. At the end of the day, Aborigines, it's time to get it in. We all going to have to pick different areas. Some of y'all are accountants. We're going to need people in the finance sector. Some of you guys are versed in law. We're going to need y'all in that sector. We're going to use your talents for whatever. I don't care if you know how to basket weave. I don't care if you know how to do lanyard and do the cobra and the staircase and shit like that. You don't have to be the most articulate or book smart. Half our great-grandparents couldn't even read, but they sure enough knew how to run this country. They sure knew how to run their affairs. They definitely had a green thumb. Some of y'all know how to grow plants and into botany and horticulture. We need that. We need to get into these fields, these specialized fields. You know, they giving these foreigners, a lot of these Africans and Koreans and the Hindustanis, the Hindus, they're giving them visas to come over here and have, they get grants to facilitate scientific programs. So now you got everybody that want to take our shit, fucking with our DNA, telling them, hey, y'all come from over there. We're not even in those fields anymore. And when we get into these biology fields, you end up working for them because you've been indoctrinated. So it's not really dawning on you to go back to your people now that you done got all this information. Right? What are you doing? Are you starting your own labs? Are you taking this information and from your scientific observations, right? Are you taking this information and you challenging it to the American Medical Association? This is what I found. This is a fact. How many of our so-called black scientists are saying anything outside of what these pilgrims are saying? How many of our so-called black lawyers are saying, hey, this is wrong and my people ain't persons? These oath takers, their oath is not to us. Am I saying that they're bad people? Absolutely not. Are they in a bad line of work? Absolutely. Because it crosses the moral compass. And it enhances or contributes to our oppression. We got to support each other. They're coming hard. They got spiritual attacks and everything, you know. They got spiritual attacks going on and everything. You know, they're messing with the YouTube pages. They're messing with the platforms. I'm blocked from, I'll add my other Facebook page, y'all. They blocked me from the main page that I've had for 10 years. But add Phoenix Moon on Facebook. It's 2 pages. This one, it has my family on it. My grandmother's siblings on it. So you see a bunch of Virginia Indians on that picture. That's me. And definitely share information. Y'all could drop stuff on that page and talk to me. Sometimes I've been trying to get back to the emails and stuff like that. I don't want y'all to think I'm ignoring y'all, but I'm going to get back to y'all in order of receipt. And that's about it. I just kind of wanted to straighten that shit out. Civil Rights Act, Public Law 90284, April 11th, 1968. Peace and love, Aborigines. Y'all have a wonderful day.